It's day 7 at the Australian Open and maybe the biggest day yet. We have seen Jannik Sinner saved by the heat rule, Novak Djokovic records, Osaka withdrawing from the tournament, and many, many more stories. Of course, the big one, Stan the Man, his last match down under.
That's it, day 7. It is nearly complete. We've got a couple of matches still playing. We've got Jakub Mensik on court at the moment. We've got Casper Ruud still awaiting a baby, but playing incredibly. But where are we going to start? I think everybody knows. Jannik Sinner through, but saved by the heat rule. And dramatic. I didn't expect this. Obviously, being a daytime match in the middle of the Australian heat, he doesn't really fare too well, it seems. His body, you've got to remember, he is a ginger guy. They don't tend to like the sun. And at 3-1 down, he obviously lost the first set. He won the second set. He was 3-1 down in the third, cramping, could barely walk. And then the call from the, umpire and around the grounds just to say, we're closing the roof. We're at a level 5 on the heat index, and this is unsafe, essentially, to be playing in these conditions. Crazy that this happened at this time, because now it's obviously, if Sinner was level or Sinner was up, it wouldn't be causing as much of controversy. But the fact he was down, it just opens the doors to all of the conspiracy theorists, doesn't it, JG?
Yeah, and like you say, it's not the first time we've seen this with Jannik Sinner over the years. Obviously, in his early days, this was quite common for Jannik Sinner. He always had physical issues, whether it was blisters, whether it was the heat, whether it was just many other things, sickness, a stomach, or he just seemed to always struggle physically. When he's not struggling physically, there's no doubts about it in my mind. On a hard court, very few players can get anywhere near him. They don't generate even breakpoint opportunities. Alcaraz struggles, but does well compared to other players. But he is the best, in my opinion. The problem is we do see these cramps and issues also often. If you look back to last year when he played Carlos Alcaraz, I believe in the Cincinnati final, he was Alcaraz 5-love up in that opening set of the final. And then there we go. The rest was history. Sinner couldn't handle it. He pulled out, withdrew from the match, retired. And it feels like he is prone to having these incidents. You can't take anything away from Elliot Spizzirri. He was class. And he played very, very well. He beat Fonseca as well, right?
Yep, that's correct.
He's beaten some good players already in this tournament. We've seen a high level from him, and he turned up against Jannik Sinner. The heat rule is a heat rule. Of course, there's going to be conspiracy theorists out there saying, it's been done to favour Jannik Sinner and keep him in the tournament. But the rule is when it reaches number 5 that you have to stop play. It did do that. It reached the heat index 5. And at that point, Sinner looked like he was about to faint. He was 3-1 down, then managed to come back, break again, take that set. However, when the roof was closed in the next set, in the 4th set, he was also found himself 3-1 down. So it did turn his fortunes around, but not completely. Of course, Elliot from that position of 3-1 up in the 4th has to do a little bit better to put his foot on Jannik Sinner's neck, because Sinner was still struggling after that. Of course, he may be getting slightly better as it went on, and that's probably what we saw. But there was some ups and downs. It wasn't a case of he was 3-1 down in the 3rd, turned it around, and then in the 4th bageled him or made it a very straightforward set. He was struggling also in the 4th with the roof closed.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think the main takeaway that people are drawing up is if it had have continued as an outdoor match, Jannik Sinner would have probably had to have retired from the match. That's the difference of closing the roof. He wouldn't have physically been able to continue. He said, I don't know what to do. He said, I'm effed. That's what he said. Like, he was cowering away in the shade. He could barely walk around the court. I don't know if you've seen some of the... I'll share just a little bit Obviously, it's just his legs, but this is not like I've seen anybody's legs walk like he's just going like they're like stiff, just stiff planks he's trying to walk around with. And Spizzirri, credit to him, he was playing drop shots and trying to get Sinner running around, and it was working. So, but credit to Sinner as well. He knows he got lucky in this one. That's what he said in his post-match interview. He said, I got lucky with the heat rule. I was struggling with the leg, and then it moved to my whole body. And remember last year, he got lucky again, didn't he? Holger Rune, there was the net broke. He was struggling in that
match as well, where
he had a 20-minute break when he was struggling in the heat last year.
Yeah.
And then he came back. And I think people are just getting like, how is he getting so much luck in these big moments? Obviously, the heat rule is the heat rule. And I think what Gil Gross has put out is actually correct. He said, everyone should be clear on the history that led us to this point. Tennis Australia got serious about its heat policy in 2019 in response to years of health concerns, bad optics, and too many inconsistencies. And somebody else has said, two things can be true as well. The rules are the rules, which that's right. And number two, closing the roof at that particular moment was a gift to Jannik Sinner. They can both be true. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't buy into any of these theories that it was done to save the number 2 seed in the tournament and keep the hopes of a Sinner-Alcaraz final alive. It just was the rules, and it did benefit Jannik Sinner. So I would agree with this statement completely. Dimitrov-Sinner was another match I was trying to think of last year in Wimbledon.
Wow.
Dimitrov 2 sets up, then he had to pull out for injury. So Sinner has had his fortunes in a few of these slams when he's physically struggling and not looking his best. From them, we've always seen him then bounce back and produce ridiculous level. Like from that same tournament, you look at how it ended with him playing Alcaraz in the final. I mean, it didn't look like there was any problems at all physically. So moving on to the next match, I feel semi-confident that he's going to be back and be okay. I think this was just an incident of the conditions, the heat, and so all the other factors. And he needs to know how to handle it better. There needs to be a lot of work. Forget all of this trying to learn drop shots and mix up your game to be competitive with Alcaraz after the head-to-head. I think his priority needs to not be the tactics and his tennis. It needs to be physicality and how he's going to manage these hot conditions. I think that's kind of where my head would be if I was in Jannik Sinner's box and team. I want to just highlight a quote from Djokovic. Ooh. Of course, Djokovic won his match, beat Van der Zandschulp, straight sets. No physical problems for him. He's looking quite good. And this is what he had to say after the match. He said, Alcaraz and Sinner are the best players in the world. But when you enter the court and the ball rolls, everything can happen, especially in this court. And I like that because what it does for me is I'm sure Jannik Sinner and Alcaraz would have seen that quote already. And it puts a little bit of pressure on them because that's coming from the guy who wins this tournament more than everyone else, the guy with the leading Grand Slams. And he's saying, you know what, anything can happen in tennis. I'm still here. I know what level I can always consistently produce. Of course, he can suffer as well. He's not completely a god. But over the years, it's not happened so often with him. And it can definitely happen with Jannik Sinner. Alcaraz in his early years, but he looks a little bit more, I think, steady and he thrives in the hot conditions, where Sinner doesn't.
Yeah, and I think that is the key thing. Alcaraz, like Vance says here, enjoys the heat, the lively conditions and trampoline effects the sun gives him. He's able to mix the heights and the spins. Sinner enjoys it indoors, deader conditions, cooler temperatures, which strengthens the quality of his ball striking. Much tougher to get the ball out of his zone. And that's the one big question I want to ask you, because obviously we've just had more Italians going through. Darderi has just defeated Khachanov. We've had Musetti going through against Mahatch. And Jannik Sinner is now facing Darderi in the next round. Will the Australian Open have seen what happens in the daytime? And will Jannik Sinner's next match be at night?
I can't answer that. You're asking me a question I don't
They
know.
can put requests in. That's the thing. Djokovic can put a request and say, I don't want to play during the day. I want to play at night if possible. And then they can honour it. They don't have to, but they probably favour the bigger players if they would fancy playing later in the day.
And in a way, rightfully so. Am I being unfair in saying that? I think if Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, if they put in certain requests, they've probably got their way more times than not over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
So Sinner is nowhere near that legacy of them players, but he is the number 2 player in the world, someone who's won this tournament, the last 2 years in a row.
Yep.
I think there should be that little bit of respect where he should get his requests maybe more than others, but not always. And it's up to them and to the discretion of them. Do I think it really matters? No, because as much as I feel like if it is to get to really hot conditions again, then the heat rule will come into place.
Yeah,
So there is these plans in place. Of course, he can lose any match. I think when he has these physical low moments, he usually bounces back in the next match and is a lot better regardless. I think he's now prepared for it, kind of thing. Whether he takes some kind of hydration, medication, I don't know. I'm not going to get into definitely Jannik Sinner's medication. I think that is a slippery slope to get into. But I feel he's going to be okay in the next match.
Yeah, I think so as well. The team, that's one of the things he said that we just really need to work on.
Even if it's a day match, by the way, I feel like he's going to be fine regardless of what schedule he gets.
Yeah, I think playing a fellow Italian's actually going to help him as well because he's going to know Darderi's game a bit more than he will do. Some of the other players would have spent a bit more time with him. Darderi played fantastic, managed to get through his match, which was impressive. Jannik Sinner, though, I think that will be, if I'm honest, I think it's going to be a straight sets win for him against Darderi. That would be my first initial thought.
Yeah, and sticking with the Italians, quickly on Musetti, I've sent you a tweet which highlights his dominance really since April 25.
No.
And I've got a few questions to pose at you because you've not put him inside your top 10, which is ludicrous. He's the number 3 in the ATP rankings at the moment. And since April of 25, he has got to Monte Carlo final, Madrid semi-final, Rome semi-final, Roland Garros semi-final, US Open quarter-final, qualified for the ATP finals for the first time. Obviously, Djokovic did withdraw and help him out with that. And then first time into the round of 16 at the Australian Open. So that's still going, by the way. He's still in the tournament. Why did you not think he wasn't good enough for top 10? I think that is a really ludicrous one. Of course, you can make claims about Bublik or Felix, and there was a lot of heat on that. But you not putting him inside the top 10 is the biggest crime of all of them. It reminds me of like Pegula not in your top 10. I think it was last year or the year before.
I don't know. It's just one of those where there's so many players to pick, and I had to make a choice between him and Draper, and I may have picked the wrong one. But the season's still young, as we're saying. We're looking at all of these results at the moment. Obviously, he's continuing very good form, same as Bublik. They've come into
surely
Australia.
An injury-free Musetti makes the top 10.
It looks like it on current form, but you never know in tennis. Like Novak Djokovic says,
oh, here we go.
The ball is played different on every single different court, and I think it just depends who he's up against. I thought there was an impressive performance against Mahatch. I thought Mahatch would beat him, considering Mahatch's form coming in. But Musetti just shows resilience these days. That's the one thing that's changed in Musetti's game, which I don't think I've given him enough credit for. And he can win tougher matches now. Before, he would have disappeared in a fifth set. Now we're seeing him winning that fifth set in convincing fashion as well. 6-2 in the fifth. And now he goes through to face Taylor Fritz, which this is a really great matchup. I mean, Taylor Fritz served so well. Obviously, the closed roof helped Taylor Fritz so much. But Taylor Fritz is playing very, very well. Against Stan in his last ever match, all the crowd on Stan's side, Taylor Fritz just did what he had to do. Served well, continued the rallies. He looks very dangerous on backhand and forehand sides as well, Taylor Fritz, and is willing to stay in a long rally. That's the one thing that I'd say with Taylor Fritz is looks very, very comfortable, almost like Daniel Medvedev used to look a few years ago. Just can keep the ball going, wait for the moment to strike. And yeah, he either lets you burn yourself out or he'll come up with some goods to just win the rally. And Taylor Fritz, I didn't really give him much chance in this tournament because he's in Djokovic's section, but we could be heading for another Djokovic versus Fritz quarterfinal potentially. Obviously, they got one more match each. Djokovic looks like he'll be playing Jakub Mensik, who's 2 sets up at the moment. But Musetti versus Fritz. Can Musetti take out Taylor Fritz now?
Well, I mean, either of them, Djokovic is not going to be worried. I think Musetti and Fritz must be two of his favourite players. Probably more so Fritz, because Fritz has never beaten him.
Yeah.
But that's got to change, surely, eventually. Like Djokovic, one time's going to get unstuck against Taylor Fritz. He's such a good player. This match for me was all about Stan, though. His last match at the Australian Open, what an emotional match it was. The crowd, like you say, really getting behind him. And the highlight for me was when Fritz was serving out for the match, that ridiculous backhand exchange and a nice winner from him. Wawrinka at the end of the match. Was it with Jim Courier? Having
if it was Craig Tiley.
Sorry, Craig Tiley.
Yeah, Craig Tiley just having a beer with requested that Tiley have a beer with him. He ran over to the cool box, grabbed one, cracked one open, and had a beer with Tiley on the court, which I thought was nice. Nice way to end it.
Yeah, he's a lovely bloke. I do like him. He's going to be sad when he does retire because the tennis he produces is so entertaining. He's an entertainer, and Musetti, he's going to have to try and keep this one-handed backhand alive because Tsitsipas not doing a great job at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. Musetti is one of those other players who he does have that like sort of one-punch knockout power with the backhand as well, like the backhand down the line on the run.
Stan's does look better though.
It's like a piston. It's just something. It's like a well-oiled machine, especially when you saw that rally where he got that winner.
So good.
There was about 4 or 5 in a row where he was just building it up, and then he just gradually just uncorked with a big loud roar, and then he walked back to the baseline sort of like chuckling to himself like, oh, that might be the last ever time I'm going to hit one of those big backhand winners on this court. And it was. But crowd gave him his plaudits. He's a former champion at the Australian Open. He will be missed in Australia. I'm sure we'll see him in some way, shape or form as a pundit or who knows, exhibitions or something like that.
Or a coach, because I think he loves tennis. He really does. Because there's no reason for him to keep playing for as many years as he has already if you don't love the sport. So with that kind of passion, I can't see him not being around it. But he did lose to probably the better player in Taylor Fritz. And I've sent you a tweet now because what an unbelievable tournament it's been for USA so far. Into the second week, we've got Coco Gauff, Anisimova, Madison Keys, Jess Pegula, Iva Jovic, Ben Shelton, Tommy Paul, Lerner Tien, and Taylor Fritz.
Yeah, and I think that goes nicely for where I wanted to go next. And I know that you're going to be very sad about it, but Ben Shelton, he dismantled your man from Monaco. Vachereau, he's had a great tournament still, I think. He can still leave with his head held high, but Ben Shelton is in some serious form. I think that the one thing he's improved in this tournament more than anything is his movement. He looks faster around the court than what I can remember before. And I don't think he's been broken on serve in that match either. So when you don't receive... I think he said he's had to save 2 break points or something in the post-match interview when I was watching it earlier. But he just looks good. That's it. He just looks impenetrable against lesser opposition. He's the US number 1 as well, I believe, in the rankings. That's what they were saying after the match. So he's carrying the torch for US, and he wants to be that staple at the top of men's tennis in the US. He will be facing either Ruud or Cilic in the next round. Who knows with Casper Ruud? That could be a walkover at any point right now. But Casper Ruud, obviously waiting to have a child. He's beating up Cilic at the moment, 2 sets up. But I still think Ben Shelton will get that one done, no matter who he faces out of those two. I'm convinced that Ben Shelton is one of the most dangerous players on tour, especially on a fast hard court. And he
In a
could be
Grand
on a...
Slam.
I think he is one of these players against Jannik Sinner, who I know he's not had good results against him in the past, but I see flashes of stuff in those matches that think, small tweaks. If you just make a few small tweaks, there is something there that could eventually take him on properly.
And this stat I've just shared with you now highlights what I'm saying. In terms of best of 5, there isn't really any players better in this format compared to best of 3. So if you look at his usual best of 3 win percentage, it's 54.86%, which is pretty good, really. Wins 54% of the time, 55% of the time in best of 3. Best of 5, he's got a 72.3%, which is almost an 18% differential, more than everyone else. He has shown that he is a lot better in Grand Slams as opposed to the rest of the tour. He does extremely well in this format, and that is something you can't really look badly on. I mean, if you look at all the other names below him there, these are all players who historically have done very well at Grand Slams or won Grand Slams. TFO, who's done very well recently at Grand Slams, Khachanov maybe a bit of an exception and someone who is still not quite able to do it in a slam, but everyone else has done well.
Yeah, and I think another big statistic for him as well, and this is how crazy the stats are for younger players. Players born since 2002, he has got the second most men's singles Grand Slam wins, and he's behind Carlos Alcaraz, who has 87. He's got 35. He's level with Lorenzo Musetti. But look at that. I mean, Alcaraz, it just put him on a pedestal a little bit. He's over double the amount of slam wins for Carlos. And that just puts into perspective how good Ben Shelton is, but how much better Carlos Alcaraz has been in the past slams. I think Ben Shelton's a work in progress. He's one of those players who has some really great fundamentals to be able to be like a Grand Slam champion eventually. And he just needs to add some other bits to his game to become the full package. That serve, you can never take that away from him. That's something that we're talking about Alex de Minaur, and I know that you're saying he needs the serve. The serve's the one thing. Well, I think you can probably easier train people to get around the court quicker than you can teach Ben Shelton's serve. That's my personal opinion. So the power's already there, the desire's there. I just think he just needs to add some more stuff to his game. He needs a bit of a better backhand for my liking. And maybe slightly better, add in some drop shots, a few better ones of them. If he has that in his game, who knows? Maybe we could see him get into a Grand Slam final at some point. I would love to see that because I think he thrives under the big lights as well. When the crowd comes to life, he comes to life. And that's what we want to see in Grand Slams.
Yeah, someone who I was hoping we would see a similar fire from this year was Naomi Osaka. She has withdrawn, however, from the Australian Open, and I've got quite a bit to say about it as well. So let's read her statement first.
Okay,
If
let's
you go up.
here.
So she said, I've had to make the difficult decision to withdraw to address something my body needs attention for after my last match. So instantly not really explaining what the problem is. Not that she has to, but that's just something to note. I was so excited to keep going, and this run meant the most to me. So having to stop here breaks my heart, but I can't risk doing any further damage so I can get back onto the court. Thanks for the love and support. I'm so grateful. Everyone embraced me so much, and thanks to the whole team for always having my back and the tournament organisers. Of course, very sad because she was looking so good. My concern is this a physical problem or is this a mental problem with Naomi Osaka? Because there was a lot of heat on her. It's a story we could have done a whole podcast on, really, that incident at the net. I know on the episode we didn't really give it much time because there were so many other different topics to discuss. But since then, I've gone back and I've watched more of it and I've seen other people's reactions and opinions. The come-ons were probably a little bit more than what I gave it credit for at the time. I know Jelena Djokovic has spoken about it, and she was saying that it was not the best and a bit unsportsmanlike of Naomi Osaka. I
She did
wonder.
apologise though.
She apologised about, but she apologised about her comments more on the court afterwards, not so much the action.
Yeah.
And I just want to know: is it just all of this criticism on top of her and the pressure? Is that what's become too much where she's withdrawn? Because that'd be a real shame. I feel like she'd really turned the corner with a lot of that and was on the up. But she's saying it's a physical problem. Her body needs some attention. I don't know. I feel like you can make a lot of cases for many things here. But Naomi Osaka, in this current state, I would be concerned about her getting to the top 10 if seeing things like this.
Well, she said, I mean, it's an injury I've had a couple of times before, and I thought I could push through it. It's to do with her abs, apparently. It's an abdominal injury. Said, I played my last match with some pain, and I thought maybe I gave myself a break before my match today. I would be able to handle it, but I warmed up, and it just got a lot worse. I mean, I definitely have to do more tests, but I obviously think coming back from pregnancy, my body changed quite a lot. So this is something I have to be really cautious of. Yeah, I just have to, I guess, talk with a couple of doctors. So that's essentially, it's an abdominal thing that she's got going on. She doesn't want to risk it. And she would rather pull out now and then be fit for the rest of the year than go and play and then she'll be out injured with something even worse. So I think.
Well, I hope that is the case, and it's a good precaution for her to take, and it's not going to impact future events.
Yeah.
So it's sad, of course, to see her withdraw because I think the next match was a winnable one. But if you can't play, you can't play, and she's now out, which opens it up for who? Iga, I'm assuming.
Yes, it does. That's in Iga's section, and probably a good place to pivot to is Iga Swiatek, who got past Anna Kalinskaya, one of the later matches that was on. Very topsy-turvy match as well. Iga, there'll still be some questions asked about her after this performance because this is a match I actually got to watch because it was on early in the UK this morning. First set, she looked fantastic. Absolutely blitzed Kalinskaya. 6-1 in the first set. Then the second set, really strange, went completely off the boil. Looks like when she gets put under pressure in rallies or in certain periods of the match, she starts like snatching at the ball. She doesn't really cope with when she's deep on the court. Like we know when you've seen her up against the likes of Rybakina, when she gets pushed deep and deep and deep on every single rally, she doesn't find a way, like a plan B, to get out of those moments in the match. And the Kalinskaya just played really well, hit loads of really big, strong shots, and Iga found herself on the back foot, lost the set, and then changed it again, all in the final set. Just went on the attack again, 6-1 again. So she is there to be taken. I think in Australia, it's one of those court speeds that doesn't suit her. And that was just an evidence of it. And somebody like an Osaka, that would have been a good match for her, I think, still. You would have been able to fire the ball deep.
Yeah.
But now she doesn't have to play Naomi Osaka. Her next match is against Inglis from Australia. So definitely a winnable one.
Yeah, she's going to be really pleased about that. It is topsy-turvy for Iga at the moment. Not sure really why, but one thing you can say is when she does win that first set, her record speaks for itself. I think the only loss she's had in a Grand Slam after winning the first set was here last year against Madison Keys.
The champ.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen often. Like if she wins the first set, she's more or less a banker to win the match.
Yeah, and she's on a collision course, obviously, for a quarter-final matchup with the lady that we just spoke about, Jelena Rybakina. She went through against Valentova.
Got to favour Rybakina right now. I think she's been the better player. And she said after a match that she's not reached her heights and she's got a lot more to give. Like she's not playing her best at the moment.
Well, that's scary. Then Iga, just based upon that second set, I think it's a nightmare matchup for Iga right now playing Rybakina. Because Rybakina all she does is hit the ball close to the baseline, and she knows how to beat Iga on these type of courts.
She's favourite. She'll be favourite in the match. She's won 16 of her last 17 matches, Rybakina.
Wow, wild, absolutely crazy. Somebody else who's still in good form as well and flying the flag, like you said, all the Americans doing well. But I'm glad my girl Amanda Anisimova, who had one message for everybody today, which was keep hydrating. And it's so hot out there. Obviously, the Heat 5 index, but she looked brilliant. I mean, Peyton Stearns, if you wanted a textbook of how to beat Peyton Stearns, this was the textbook from Amanda Anisimova in this match. I think Stearns did everything to play into Amanda's strengths, but Amanda was just able to swipe her serves away with big winners constantly. She was able to just find places on the court where Stearns just couldn't get to. Just a great performance, I think, from Anisimova. Looks strong and not dropping a set again, which I can't ask for more.
Yeah, my number one American. I think she's playing a better level than Coco Gauff right now and has claims to win this tournament.
Yeah, we've not really said much about Madison Keys, have we, in this? But she's making her way through the tournament as well. And she's the reigning champ. She's up against, is it Pegula next, I think, for Keys?
Yeah.
So that's where the real test starts. And Pegula looks really good. So we'll find out what Keys is actually made of, I think, in this next match. Just want to see if there's any other people that we've missed to speak about. Noskova went out. I'll just pop the actual other results up on the screen just so you can have a look at them. So
we've not said much about Djokovic. I don't know if you want to say anything more about him.
Well, the big story really was it was his 400th Grand Slam win for Novak Djokovic. He's given an idimo with a one.
I love how you just slide him in on the end. Novak Djokovic's 400th Grand Slam win. I thought it would be more on the higher up in the list for you.
Well, it was a straight sets win. And
do you not care about him anymore, Ben?
I do, but I feel that there are bigger stories that have been flying around today, like Stan's last ever match, which I think in Australia, that's huge. Jannik Sinner heat controversy, that had to take centre stage. We've moved away from the men's onto some of the women's, but maybe it's a good place to end the episode and give him his own section.
So Madison Keys' tournament went ahead of Novak Djokovic for you?
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like the things at the back end are sometimes
I'm just pulling your leg.
Give them a bit of extra time.
Don't explain yourself.
I think that his performance, but I will throw some extra stuff in here for you just for free.
Too late now. You've upset all of the Djokovic fans.
No,
you've upset me.
I think they were just tuning in for the Jannik Sinner bit, to be honest. That's probably more what they were interested in. But this performance against Butik, I thought was a great performance. 2 sets looked really confident. The third set started to get a little bit shaky, even faced a set point as well. Had to prove that he can serve to keep in it. Nearly, I'd say, get disqualified. He hit out in anger at one ball that went flying close to one of the ball kids at the net, just flew past them. God, no, I didn't want to see that hit a ball kid because you know what's going to happen then. Probably would have reacted in less dramatic fashion than that lady that got hit in the throat, but still, you never know. It could have been a disqualification if he hit that ball kid.
Yeah, you've done a good job there, Ben, trying to sound interested about Novak Djokovic. We know you're a big Rafael Nadal fan now, so you're not tricking anyone. But thanks, everyone, for watching. I think we'll wrap it up there. My thoughts on Novak Djokovic was I expected him to win, and let's see when he starts playing some other players, when the real test will be and how he copes with that. I still think he's going to do quite well. Secretly well.
Next? Potentially?
Yeah, I think he still does secretly well. So let's keep going. I kind of want him now to progress to a semi-final. I want to see the Jannik Sinner-Djokovic semi-final if we to get it. So hopefully we can.
I want it in the daytime.
And I want it at night when it's nice and cold.
2 cramping players just rolling around on the floor. That's what I want to see. But yeah, it's still a long way to go to get to that, unfortunately, for both players. But I'm excited for the next round. Will Mensik get past Ethan Quinn? They're still playing at the moment, 5-all in the third. Let us know your thoughts about all of today's stories in that comment section. What do you think about the heat rule? Do you agree with it? Do you think it should have happened at that exact moment? Or do you think rules are rules and it was just coincidence that it happened at 3-1 when Sinner was losing.
Sinner's winning it all, so cry some more, Ben. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.